Okay, welcome then to this session as we look at exploring the NHS Knowledge and Library Hub. So following the transition last summer, so it's not so new now, it's been around for a while, and I'm sure many of you have explored it in your own time with users as well. But of course, it is available to help you find high quality evidence resources without needing to learn complex search techniques. So in a sense, you could say it's the first port of call for searching, certainly for scoping, etc. It's had obviously over the last few months a significant upgrade with a less cluttered feel, so you can focus on finding the evidence you need quickly and simply. And I know I've probably met most of you online in the last few months since I returned to EBSCO, but for those who haven't met me before, I'm Richard Crooks. I work for the Customer Training Services team based in the UK, actually in the East Midlands. So I'm a senior customer training specialist now with EBSCO in total for just over 14 years. And I typically train across the UK, Ireland, and Nordics. And as you can appreciate, mostly online, having also worked previously in the NHS myself for 12 years as a librarian and related roles. So glad you could join the session this afternoon. In terms of the agenda, the outline for this session, we'll look at navigating the interface. So where we are with that now. Look at exploring the natural language search, which again, I'm sure some of you have been using or promoting. Combining searches as well as it stands in Discovery. There are some changes coming for that. And also saving and exporting search results as well. And I know we had at least one comment in the registration about exporting results. And also using the MyEBSCO account, which includes the project and the dashboard feature to store and retrieve searches, results, etc. as well. So again, any comments, questions, feedback, please post them in the Teams chat. So in terms of the actual objectives, I hope that by then the session, and it may be a refresher for some of you may have attended a session a few months ago, but you'll be able to navigate and identify key features of the interface. You'll be able to conduct evidence searches using natural language search to find relevant records, and also combine search terms and searches for more precise results in a more standard way of searching. I'm not going to do any real in-depth searching today. It's really to highlight the key features and elements of the hub, which we know at EBSCO as the EBSCO Discovery Service, of course, and also save, export results in RS and other formats for use with reference management tools, and also create, store, and retrieve save records using the MyEBSCO account. So just a reminder really, and because obviously there's various debates about how you use a discovery service and so on, but just a reminder of the function of the hub. It is designed primarily to support rapid access to evidence from journals, books, and other sources. So it's your go-to place, although we do use Google and other search engines from time to time, but this is the first part. This is the place to go to initially. Obviously, as library services, both nationally, regionally, locally, you're investing in numerous resources and you want to make them discoverable, accessible to your users. So obviously this hub facilitates that. So it's not designed or intended for carrying out systematic reproducible searches of the research literature that are best delivered in advanced interfaces. And as I'm sure you're aware, we are in the process, or you'll be in the process of migrating to the new EBSCO interface over the coming months for CINAHL Medline. So again, we do have the EBSCO interface. You're still using the classic interface primarily for that, and of course other provider platforms to access the primary literature through more advanced searching. So again, this is designed to not to do that essentially. It's essentially providing you with quick access to the evidence from array of content from different providers, platforms, and so on. So this is its current state of play. Look, obviously you'll have your own local representation of the hub itself. So maybe some slight changes. The interface largely will look the same because obviously it's been agreed at a national level. So rolled out nationally in England in the NHS. I'm not sure if we have anyone outside of England in the NHS here today, but they're welcome if they are. But essentially you've got in this page, in this rendering, you've got guest access enabled. So we do encourage users immediately to sign in to their Open Athens account. If they don't have one, or if they have problems with Open Athens, there is a link to Open Athens registration under research tools on the left-hand columns, or essential links, sorry, that's usually designated. There is research tools there, but it's under the essential links on the left-hand column, you'll find the link to Open Athens registration. So we do encourage that to ensure that your users and also yourselves are making the most of your value-added content, the full text content, etc. Okay, so that does require Open Athens login. So we do get questions from time to time, of course, both from yourselves and possibly users as to what resources are actually searched through the hub. It's a good question, of course. It's important to know what it is. And there is a link to the documentation, displaying or detailing that on the Knowledge and Library Hub Service Desk Solutions page. So again, I recommend checking out that page, that document there, to detail what kind of journals are accessible, what kind of databases, ebooks, and so on are accessible through the hub. So again, it's a go-to place if you need to provide your users with more information, etc. Okay, so that should be updated at some point as well. Now, also to mention EBSCO's commitment to accessibility regarding ebooks. So EBSCO is, of course, dedicated to enhancing accessibility, and that means it's in line with the European Accessibility Act, which was released or enabled back in June of last year, and also the equivalent US guidelines as well. So these regulations emphasize equal access to digital information as a fundamental human right. So EBSCO supports this by integrating accessibility into its product development. You can see that from the interface with a lot of white space to reduce the cognitive load, to support screen reader navigation, etc. And is, continually looking to improve that. So key features have been already implemented or available in EBSCO ebooks to meet these EAA requirements. That includes a preference for EPUB 3 content, the text-to-speech functionality, which you'll also find with journals as well, both for PDF and HTML, but also applied to ebooks. There is also customizable font size and spacing, accessibility metadata for discoverability, and so on. And of course, compatibility with assistive technologies. This is an ongoing effort, and if you want to explore more information about that, there's a link on this page, on this blog post regarding the implications of those acts for accessible ebooks within the platform. In terms of the elements, and some of that these we'll of course touch on as we go through the live demonstration shortly. We can look at basic advanced searching. That also includes natural language search. The application of filters, limiters to refine your results. As you can appreciate, searching an interface like the hub, you are going to access a plethora of information from different providers, different resources. So users need to be aware of what's available to refine results, to focus on what they really need, again, to get access to the evidence quickly. There are also the My Dashboard and research tools for storing, retrieving references, identifying what you've done, tracking your search history, and so on. And of course, MyEBSCO is part of that to ensure that with a personal user account, and that is integrated with the Open Athens sign-in, you can then store items beyond the session and so on, and retrieve them later as needed. So again, these are the key elements that we'll be looking at. So just a quick review then of the interface before we go live. So this again is the interface, the home page, the basic search screen. So we have the basic search box, which also provides initial limits for full text, peer-reviewed content, and also publication date, whether it's publications from the last 12 months, 5 years, or 10 years. Also within that, you have the natural language search option, which you can switch on. Advanced search is also there, and also the PCOT app as well, or the PCOT app, which you explore in the session itself. We also have, of course, the quick evidence sources. So if you want quick access to BMG best practice, or the Royal Marsden Manual, nice clinical knowledge summaries, or the BNF guideline, the BNF formulary for adults or for children, etc. Those are available through the carousel on the homepage. So again, these things have been agreed at a national level to ensure your users are accessing resources quickly and getting to what's relevant to them where they are, as it were. In addition, I mentioned this just now regarding My Dashboard, which features projects where you can store and create projects to store searches and references. Saved is the default save folder when you're saving items, bookmarking them in the hub. Recent activity is tracking your searching, so it records your search. So essentially it's the search history for the hub, and also any records that you view. You have alerts, so you can set up search alerts. So if you've run a search, I want it to rerun in the background periodically, then you can do that. And also you have research tools, which allows you to return to the home page via new search. Publications A to Z, which is the publication finder from EBSCO, which also features ebooks. Further resources, which is a link to other external resources like the TRIP database, Google Scholar, that users may also need access to, and also Publications Authority, which is essentially a link to direct you to identify journals that are indexed in EBSCO's databases, essentially. And then, of course, essential links includes Open Athens registration, a link to browsing via Browse Journals from Third Iron. So again, e-journals that are provided by them. Also with LibKey, of course, integrated in the hub itself to link directly to the articles from within those publications. And finally, there's a help menu, which we'll explore later as well. Now, when you're running a search on the results page, you'll find additional limiters also do appear as well. And that includes the option to click on all filters, and that will open up another column which is hidden in the background. That will expand to show them. It shows you the active filters, and it also gives you the other filters, for example, content provider. So you can narrow down by the provider or the database, the resource. You can limit by subject. So again, with the hub being the discovery service, it integrates various classification schemes, subject indexes such as MESH for Medline, single headings, Library of Congress classification, and so on, and you can filter accordingly. So there are additional options there. I've got from Samantha a question. Do we no longer have access to links to Oxford textbooks and Clinical Key? Good question. I know that historically those were available. I believe they still are, but I need to check that. I'm not sure about Clinical Key from Elsevier. I need to follow that up, perhaps. We'll see during the course of the session. Someone else may want to comment on that from their own experience. But I know, obviously, in fact, when I go to the homepage, I'll explore the collection from the carousel. We might see some there, but I need to double check on that. So just part of that thought for now. Also to mention, we do support, obviously, ongoing exporting of records from the result list. Again, as you can appreciate, you are going to obtain a lot of records searching across multiple databases, resources, and so on. So you can export up to 25,000 records. That is also in keeping with the new EBSCO interface and was true for the EBSCO Classic interface. So you have the option to select export results up to 25,000 records. And one thing to note with your Open Athens login, it is EBSCO single sign-on. So that means you won't need to re-sign into a MyEBSCO folder. So typically you would need to click on the link to export records, and then you would sign in to MyEBSCO personal user account. With EBSCO single sign-on, that is integrated with Open Athens authentication, so you should bypass that option. So it should take you to the following page, and you'll notice also on here, it does highlight that for each session, you can export up to 25,000 results. However, there is an upper limit of 100,000 results in a 24-hour period. So you may run separate searches, and each time you may want to export up to 25,000 records. So 100,000 is the maximum in a 24-hour period. You will also obviously choose the appropriate format. In this example, of course, got RIS selected. So again, you enter your email address, who it's going to go to. So this will provide a link to download the metadata. Okay, so you can see you'd send that, and then you'd have this dialog box appear, which allows you to, click on a link to download the metadata and extract that, and obviously import it into your preferred software. So that link is valid for 7 days. So again, it's in keeping with the standard interface, both for Classic and also for the new EBSCO interface, which you will be switching to in time in the coming months at some point. So MyEBSCO, just to recap with MyEBSCO, then it is a personal user account. As I said, with EBSCO single sign-on, is automatically set up, as it were. So if anyone doesn't have that, or there's issues, you can of course sign in directly from the appropriate link, which is from the MyEBSCO link on the top right of the home screen, as we'll see in a moment. And there is an online form to enter your credentials there or create an account if needed. So for whatever reason, but essentially you've got the EBSCO single sign-on with the MyEBSCO integration. There is a tutorial here, a short tutorial covering the MyEBSCO personal user account and the dashboard in the new interfaces. That includes obviously the hub as the discovery service. So you may want to review that in your own time. So I won't play that now. Okay, so we're going to go to live demonstration now. So I may switch between the national site and a trust site, because there's some things I might want to show you on the trust site as well. So I may switch between the two depending on how we get on. But let's now go to that live demonstration, and I'll switch screens here to my homepage for the hub. And this is, again, currently the national setup here. And again, you'll see the interface. So we mentioned the search box, the basic search screen. Again, a lot of white space to support screen reader navigation, reduce the cognitive load on users and so on. But again, this has been around now. It was launched back in July of last year, so it's been around for a good few months. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this. I mentioned in relation to Samantha's question, you can explore the collection here. So I'm just going to open that up here. In fact, it's not going anywhere. I'm not sure why it's doing that. Interesting. Let me just switch quickly to the other one that I've got open. Maybe that will show more. So this is a trust version. So I'm going to see if I can expand to show more here. No, it's not. That's interesting. I'm not sure why it does that. Maybe it's just an option. I don't know. Some of you may have used this before, but it's not bringing me up anything else other than what I've got on screen here. I thought it might show some more information anyway. But we'll go through a demonstration of this in any case. So again, the links are there all times, so you can change, the settings in terms of the publication date, etc. But before we go any further, I will comment on, or at least look at natural language search. So I'm going to switch on natural language search here. Okay, and this is where we enter our terms in the form of a question or a statement. It's not designed for basic keyword searching. For example, if you put heart attack or myocardial infarction, it's not really intended for that. It's intended to respond to a particular question. So what I'm going to do here, I am going to put in a question here. So I'm going to put in, what are the standards of care for pressure ulcers in older people? Okay, I'm just going to qualify this. So keep modifying this question. So I'll run that search. Okay. So it's now going to generate results from the range of resources that are accessible through the hub nationally. And obviously we'll end up with a lot of results, 27,000. Also to point out here, we've got a couple of links here. How does it work? So again, that just gives you a reminder of what it's doing. It's powered by AI, and it's generating a question, or generating a search query based on your question. Okay, so I made some examples there which are not necessarily health related, of course, and you'll see the refined query is displayed here. Now, the feedback we've had on this is very positive so far, both from librarians and also for users as well. So it's been well received. And of course, with this, so this is the refined query, you can, of course, copy this. And I know some, with one librarian, she mentioned she would use this query and run it on Google Scholar as well, for example. So you can obviously take the query, run it on another search engine if you prefer as well. So you've got that option there displayed. We've got the results below. You can see the results feature the terms that are generated from the question in yellow for the title, and they're also featured in bold within the abstract when displayed, etc., and also within the subject headings as well. You'll notice on screen the way the results are displayed, we have the abstracts are collapsed, so you have to click show more to view the entire abstract, and likewise the number of subject headings are also hidden, so you have to expand those fields. And that's just again designed to reduce the cognitive load. It's easier on the eye, it's less cluttered feel, although there's some debate whether the abstract should be displayed up front. And there is an option to do that within EBSCO Experience Manager. But what you can do, of course, with these results is narrow it down further. You can refine them. So, for example, even from the top quick links, we've got full text here. We can select full text only if preferred. And of course, we can go to the publication date as well. So I'm not going to go through all these features because they're fairly intuitive. So if we go for the past 5 years, for example, and we can review those figures, those results, sorry. So you can see them now displayed there, etc. And also we can adjust the view. So at the moment, you can view up to 50 records. There is some plans to increase that quite considerably, at least for EBSCO hosts. I think that would have impact on discovery as well. So again, that figure will change in due course. I don't have a time frame for that, but that is in the pipeline. Okay. And results are sorted by relevance. Again, this is based on the standard relevancy ranking that was also apparent in the hub, and it's on the classic interface. That means the weight is associated with the subject terms, followed by the words in the title, the words in the abstract, and then words, author supply keywords, and also the words appearing in the full text. And this happens to be, of course, This is a retracted article, which is a new feature. And you'll see here, again, this is coming from LibKey. The PDF is from LibKey, from Third Eye there. Good question from Samantha. Would it give a summary like ChatGPT? Now, that is a good question because it's been decided at this present time not to activate AI Insights. So AI Insights, or generative AI Insights as we call them, would do exactly that. It would provide a summary, a bulleted summary, typically 2 to 5 points of a full text article. So wherever you have a full text article available, it would generate a summary, probably in the way that you're thinking of. However, nationally, it's been decided not to have generative AI Insights enabled at this time. So I think there's still some concern about AI and the applications of that, but it is something which has been rolled out. I don't think the one I'm looking at, I'm going to just try this. I don't think this has been, let me just put in a quick search here. I'll use the same topic, but just if this trust has enabled it, I don't know if they have. I'm not sure if trust, oh, that's not even, I'm not sure what's going on there. It's not even available. Refresh the page. I'll try another subject here. Okay. Oh, I'm not sure. I think I've timed out on that one. Yeah. Okay. That is just another trust account that I was looking at for earlier for discovery. So yes, there is an option for generative AI Insights. It would sit along these two links that you see here. So we've got access options. In this case, this is a retracted article. You can access the item here as well, which could be, I think that might be Full Text Finder. Let's see what this comes up with. Yes, this is Full Text Finder. So this is the link resolver Full Text Finder. In some cases, you'll have Full Text Finder and you have LibKey. But more like this is recommending other articles. Okay, and not, unfortunately not for that one. But Generative AI Insights sits along, is one of the links that would be assigned here. Okay, but it's not enabled currently. Okay. So yes, if you're interested in that, please speak to the EBSCO account team, your EBSCO account representatives, or you might want to raise this via the NHS service desk as well. So I think initially, as an individual trust, you can speak to your local account executive, for example, and mention your interest in that. So I think that's the way forward. Okay, so if you're interested in generative AI Insights, again, it provides a bulleted 2 to 5 point summary of full text content. So doesn't negate the abstract if there's one there, but it does provide you with a quick summary, and that will appear in the result list below the record. It doesn't take you to another window, another page, as it were. So we can send more information on that. I may point that out in when we look at the help menu. There might be some information there directly we can refer to. But again, nationally, it was deemed not to roll it out. Okay, so I'm just going to try and get some of these recommendations up here, hopefully. Yeah, so these are recommendations. Okay, so basically these are alternative articles that you might want to consider in light of the article you just viewed. You can comment whether it's helpful or not. So you can feedback there. You get the abstract, of course, and you get the links to the subheadings, and also there's a brief disclaimer or information about the source there. So it's exploring related research based on unique metadata from EBSCO. And you can scroll through to others as well. Notice there's also a bookmark icon. You can actually save these as well. In addition to saving the original results, you can save these recommendations if preferred also. Okay, that also appears, and you can view details here as well. So that's more like this. Again, the AI Insights option appears adjacent to that when it's enabled. Okay, so please speak to your EBSCO account team for that. Okay, if you're interested in exploring that further. Okay, so obviously you've got source type here, but I mentioned the other filters too. So go to all filters here. You'll see currently we've got these two that are active. So we're looking at publications for the last 5 years that are full text. And then we have the expanders that are on by default. So these relate to expanding the basic keyword search beyond just keyword searching to include index content, whether it's a synonym or plural, based on the index term. Also searching the full text of the records as well, the articles. So again, that's going to retrieve a lot more records when that's on, and apply equivalent subjects, which I'm sure many of you know by now relates to is a concept mapping feature, which maps the concept of the search to index terms essentially. And then you have the options below to filter further as well. So, and that includes content providers. So you can see where the content's coming from. So for example, in this context, if you wanted to focus on the Medline results, then you can select Medline here and just apply it here. Okay, so these results will now be coming from Medline in response to our original search, our natural language search. Okay, so it's intuitive to use. Obviously, the more detailed questions will retrieve fewer results, and it's not intended to bring back everything. It's really to focus on the evidence quickly and accurately. Okay. So that is natural language search. We'll get into some other searching and explore some of the other features now. So let's click new search here. Okay. Now, when we've been searching, I just want to mention this. Anything we've done so far is recorded under recent activity. So under recent activity, you'll see the search history. So basically, it collates each of the searches. As you can see, I've got the same one. It's essentially the natural language search, and I've applied different filters and so on. So you'll see it's ordered in reverse chronological order. If you want to see it in sequence, then you can change the drop down to the oldest, and then you can see the set number S1, S2, and so on. So again, we start off with 27,000 results. We applied full text here, got 8,000. Then we went a step further and applied the 5-year limiter there to 4,000 and so on, until eventually I've also selected Medline as well. So the final set are these 114 from Medline that have been published in the last 5 years and are available full text, etc. Okay, so that information is there. Now it's possible to delete this as well, especially if you're looking to run another search, which we'll do. So you can now select these sets and delete them in their entirety if you no longer need them, and you get of course the confirmation if you're generally wanting to do that before you make any mistakes, and you can delete those, and that clears the screen. Also, if we looked at any articles, they would appear here as well. Okay, so that's recent activity. There are plans to launch a search history function, which is now available for the new EBSCO interface on the result list page, but that's not yet ready for that. So question from Mary here, how long do searches stay in recent activity? I don't think there's a timeline for that. As far as I know, I think that's been raised before, but I don't think there's a finite time for when they would disappear. So I think at this present time, that far as I know, you have to manually delete them. I mean, if you've been using this since July last year, and one thing to note, you do need to be signed in though, if they're going to stay there as well. So if you're not signed in, they would disappear essentially. Okay. So again, you need to be signed in, and I am signed in. So MyEBSCO, and it says sign out here. So I can manage my preferences, manage my account here from this menu. So typically, as I mentioned, with EBSCO Single Sign-On, you should be signed into your MyEBSCO personal account automatically. Okay, so the good thing about that, of course, means that when we are saving items or we are running searches, they are going to be saved in recent activity and so on. Okay, but I'm happy to explore that further. I think we have asked that question before, but I'm going to double check that. Having coming back from leave, etc. Anyway, just we'll follow that up, etc. Okay, so typically what I'll do, I'll collate all these questions, comments, and also produce further responses post-session as well for you. Yes, Samantha, yes. Essentially then, with EBSCO Single Sign-On, the MyEBSCO personal account is synchronized with Open Athens. So you should not have to log in twice when you log in through Open Athens. When you sign with Open Athens, your personal folder should already be created for you. Okay, so once you're signing with Open Athens, then you don't need to be signed into MyEBSCO. It'll be done automatically. Okay, yeah. I mean, in a sense, there are two different logins, but they are synchronized. Okay, which obviously is very useful for users because, I mean, if you have guest access enabled, as I showed you earlier, that's just prompting you to log in, sign into Open Athens, and then you're authenticated into your folder as well. So the biggest challenge is and we found this, and I think statistics support this, the use of the hub, many are still going through guest access. So we're not able to track the usage of it. They're bypassing that and they're just running searches, which is, of course, they may want to do. Obviously, many of us use other apps, tools, and we don't always want to sign in. We don't always want to create an account. So we use it as a guest user. So again, for the user, that'd be quite useful. For yourselves who invest in these resources, not so helpful. But also they're missing out when they sign in as a guest user, they're missing out on the other content, etc. It's accessible. So we do encourage users to sign in where guest access is enabled. So when you see that gray banner across the top, then click on that and it'll, then follow the prompt to authenticate as I did earlier. So you don't see that on my screen now because I did that earlier. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. But again, we'll provide more documentation on that post session. Okay, so I'll start a new search here, and this time I will look at the advanced search. So I'm just going to go to advanced search here. So it's possible to run an advanced search, in other words, to make use of the rows and combine search terms here. You can up to 12 rows, but again, as I said at the beginning, typically any more in-depth searching is going to be carried out in CINAHL Medline and related databases specifically. So for this one, though, what I can do, I can run a search here. So for example, I can put one for, say, chronic migraine. I can choose the terms in the drop down. These are simply popular searches from other users, not just in the NHS. I can use these terms as well as a quick way of searching to find what's out there initially and combine, for example, with acupuncture. So using the Boolean operator there, we've got and or not. I can, of course, qualify these searches with fields as well, with in-field codes. But as you know, and as you can appreciate, these are very basic. These are standardized to cover all the resources that are indexed or accessible through the hub. So you won't see MH for the mesh term for Medline. You'll see instead SU, which is a generic way of searching the subject indexes that are accessible. So with psychoarticles, you have the APA thesaurus. With Medline, you have the mesh terms. With CINAHL, you have CINAHL subject headings. So there are multiple indexes that are being searched at once. So SU is a way to search those indexes if you wish to narrow or focus by the field code. Likewise with journal title, source, etc. So again, you may or may not use those, but they are common to all resources indexed in the hub, whether from EBSCO or other providers as well. And of course, with this on this page as well, and I just want to mention here, if I'll go back to that in a moment, we have the obviously filters here. So for example, if you want to change, look at the last 5 years or a custom date range, you've got those options there. You can specify title and language, of course. So up front, you can use those filters on the advanced search page as well. So you can click search and run the search here and bring back your results there. Now, there's another way we could do this search as well, which I'll show you in a moment, but you get the results here. But just to go through some of these features here that we've seen earlier, which I didn't comment on. So you have, of course, the options alongside above the result list here. So the first one to note, just mentioned here, we mentioned this in the PowerPoint, you can select 1 to 50 results at this present time, and you can save them. Okay, so you can save those results. You've also got options to export. So you click the export option, and then I can just enter my email address, choose RIS or RS format, and I click send, and I get confirmation that an email is being sent with that link to download the metadata to export it. So it's been exported, so I can import that into my preferred software. So it's that's the RIS format. I can also download here as well. So if I prefer, I can download the metadata for these records. PDF by default. Word is also available here, as is BibTeX and so on. So I can click download here, and I can download up to 50 records at this time. Again, I mentioned there are plans to increase that quite considerably. So we're just waiting on that at the moment. So I can save that document and then just open this up. Okay, and if I just drag this across, you'll see the Word document for the download records here. Okay, so this is just the content listing, and then you'll see the actual bibliographic data below with the links provided as well. Okay, so that's available. So let me just move my prompt here. Okay, so there are choice of formats there as well. Okay, you can download from that list. It's been saved here. So when you save items, they'll be saved into the save folder by default. There's also the add to project. So add to project is basically you can bypass the save folder and create a project. So if it's part of an evidence search that you're doing and you want to collate the search and the results together, you can by creating a project. Now, I've got a couple of projects here already. I can create a new one here. So yeah, so I can just put in chronic migraine. I've done this before, as you can see. I can give it a due date. If it's a search I'm working on and supporting a user, then I can obviously, specify, if they specify the date they need results by, then you can indicate that. And then you can also add a comment here. People have asked, can you add notes to it? Well, you can add notes here. Okay, so if there's anything you need to comment on regarding this particular search, etc., you can add that information. You create the project. Okay, so I've got that there. And what I can also do with this project, if I go to the tools menu, I can save the search here. Okay, and I'll change it to chronic migraine again. Okay. The query is given there. You can copy that to the clipboard if you want to use that. But if you save this now, again, it's going to be saved in the save folder. But what I can also do here is go to my save folder now. And then go to my searches, and you'll see I've got others here from previous searches. As I'm signed in, I can then add this to the same project I just created as well. Okay, I can add that now. So if I go to my projects folder under my dashboard, you'll see I've got this project. I've got the due date. If I click into it, I've got the records I saved previously, and I can review this list. So I can go through, I can download the list. I can also, add, well, I can create a sub-project if I need to. I can export these as well from this menu. I know some are using this feature rather than the export from the original result list. So I can export in RIS format for those who are using. So that should be, and RefWorks there as well. Okay, so those options are available. And I can also delete. So I can go in and delete individual records if I need to. If I don't need this all, I can go in and delete and get confirmation of that. So I can filter the results that way as well. And the search itself is stored here as well. So I can go in, I can look at the search details, and I can edit the search too here. So I can make changes to this. So for example, I could put in headache, for example, and then update that search. Okay, click continue. And then you'll see I've added headache here as well now. So that's now it changed. Okay, so I can do that. So I can save the changes. Okay, well, the changes are saved already. So again, just to show you some more information there about projects. So essentially you can bypass the save folder and just for records, saving records, and just save them directly into a project. So it's just differentiating projects from save. Saved is the folder by default. Projects is something you create yourself. You personalize it in a sense, and you can group your save records with that search as well. Okay. And it does allow you to delete them as well. Okay, so just to clarify then, I'll finish off with the other elements in a moment as well. I'll just run another search here. Another way of doing this, of course, is you can simply just combine terms in the recent activity as well. I'll just go with, there may be some more questions there. I'm just going to double check here. So Susan asked, what are the benefits of assigning to the user more access to full text? Yes, that's right. There'll be more access to full text content, plus you can save searches. It'll keep your search history as well. So again, and you can set up alerts as well. And then, so if not signed in, can a guest user get full text content? So there may be some open access content that might be available. I need to explore that further. But the bottom line is that we do encourage users to sign in. Again, they can then use some of the other features like set up alerts to the search. They want to rerun that periodically. They can only do that with that. Journal alerts also can be set up from the EBSCO journals. So that is from the Publications Authority. So let me just show you that on screen. So under Research Tools, you have Publications Authority, and you'll see the list of databases. These are EBSCO host databases. So nationally, you've got CINAHL, you've got Medline, and you've got Psychology and Behavioral Science Collection. So if you want to see the journals of any of these databases, so for example, PBSC, then you can go in and search that database for a specific journal, and then you can click through to it and search within it directly, or browse the various issues and view them on the results page. But under tools, you can also create the alert for this journal as well. So this will notify users of new content for that publication. So you create the alert here, and you'll find that is stored under the alerts menu under my dashboard on the left-hand column. So you see that's now been set up. So again, you wouldn't be able to do this if you're signing as a guest user. Okay, so there's some additional things there that you would have access to. Okay, so just to clarify then, another way of searching is obviously you can search for individual terms. Again, if we use another example, for example, if I did colorectal cancer, and by the way, as I'm typing here, you notice it brings up the publications. So these are library holdings. These relate to this particular account. So in other words, while popular searches are generic, they're basically searches from across the globe, not just within the NHS, not just within a particular trust or organization. Publications are specific to your trust organization. Some of these will be national journals, some will be regional or local. So publications relates to the holdings management knowledge base, which feeds into Publication Finder, which is the publications A to Z link under search tools. Okay, so publications is local, specific to your particular setup, whereas popular searches are generic. Okay, but if I just type in or just select these terms for now, and if I'm looking at cancer screening or bowel cancer screening, then what I can do here, I can then run a new search for screening and equivalent terms, of course. Again, that search is then run. But if we then go to recent activity, I can combine the two here. So at the moment, I've got this other set, so I'm going to delete this one. Okay. But I've got these two now, and if I, again, resort them so you can see the sequence. So colorectal cancer screening, I can combine the two here in this search history. Okay. And then, in fact, you need to clear this top box as well, by the way. And then combine with and, you've got S1, S2, and then click search. As I said, there are plans to add the search history to Discovery to the hub in due course. Don't have a time frame for that, but that has been rolled out, as some of you would have seen, in Synel Medline on EBSCO Host and other EBSCO databases. So for the advanced searching. So at the moment, within the hub itself, you can combine within the recent activity, as I've just done. And I've got a lot of results, of course, as we're using the hub for this search, which obviously we will probably form it more likely in Synel Medline specifically. But again, you've got options to filter. So I'll do that now. I'll just go through the all filters here. So for example, I've got peer review content there. I get full text content and source types. So I'm going to look at academic journals, and also publication date. We'll go for the last 5 years and then apply. So I just filter out those results there, and then finish off looking at some of the, we've still got a lot of results here, of course, but I'm also going to look at the other tools here that we have. So we mentioned the option to download, save, add to project. You can also share as well. So you can share these items. You can save to OneDrive or share in OneDrive or Google Drive if appropriate, and also via email as well. Now you can just add the email address, okay, and send via email. Okay, so that's just the metadata there. We've got the cite tool as well. So the cite tool generates this citation for the records. So you can see Harvard is by default, that was agreed nationally, but you have the choice to configure this. You can also switch when you're using this. So for example, if you want to go to Vancouver, you can do so and copy that to the clipboard instead. But by default, it's felt that Harvard would be the most appropriate style to select for referencing. And then the export citation is also here as well. Again, expect to export to RIS formats, RefWorks, EndNote, and so on via this menu. So those tools are there. So those tools are reflected throughout. If you go to the individual records under the tools menu, you'll see cite, add to project, share, download also is here. So you can download individual records from this page, again, in the choice of formats. And also, if you go into individual records, so we look at this one, the detailed record, you'll see we have those tools also available here as well. So you can download the individual record, the metadata of this record as well. This one has access options, so you can see LibKey Instant PDF. That'll take you to the PDF article via LibKey, browsing link resolver. Okay, so you'll have the full text content appearing. And I just checking a question from Kerry there. If you use the hub to find articles, what is the benefit of searching Medline and CINAHL separately? It just means you can do more in-depth searching essentially with Medline and CINAHL. Obviously, one thing to know, of course, and anyone who's experienced in using these databases, that they use different indexes. So Medline has its mesh terms, CINAHL has CINAHL subject headings. Although you can search them simultaneously via the hub or even as databases, the issue is, of course, when you're reporting on that, the results may not be quite as accurate. You may rely more on the keyword searching rather than using the subject headings. So the subject headings, of course, being more authoritative, like mesh CINAHL headings, they do differ. Although they originate with National Eye Medicine, they are different. So again, the more in-depth searching can be performed on CINAHL and Medline. Okay, so there are options maybe to filter, for example, that you might not find in Discovery in the hub, that you would find in CINAHL Medline. For example, you have age, gender filters within those databases that are not present within the hub itself, because they are specific to those databases, and the hub, of course, is searching a range of databases. So generally speaking, you should be searching, for more in-depth searching, you can certainly explore what's in there in CINAHL Medline through the content provider link, which I'll go back to. So if I go back to the search here and see, let's go back to results to respond to that. So again, all filters, and you can go to content provider. You can see Medline's here, CINAHL's here. So you can certainly select those to see what's out there. But notice you've got other options, publication, publisher, language. There's no age group, gender filter here. Some that are specific to Medline, like EBM reviews. So again, you're limited in your choice there. And if I apply that, you will see, of course, the lists, and the databases are given as well. So you can see the first item is from Medline, and Medline there. You might find CINAHL further on down the list, predominantly Medline, probably because of the nature of the subject. Obviously, it's more nursing in scope. Allied health, you'll find more. So yeah, if we just select to go back to, let's select the most recent ones, just see if we can see some CINAHL records there as well. But you can click through to the database. So you can see Medline here. But if I was to click through here, I think this will take me to the classic version, from what I remember. Oh, it takes me to PubMed, actually, in this case. So it's directed me to the PubMed interface there. So if you've got Medline Ultimate, Medline Complete, that should take you to the EBSCO host interface specifically. Okay, so obviously these ones are using the link resolvers, LibKey, or full text finder to get to the full text. In other words, those full text records are not available directly through Medline, but if you have Medline Ultimate, Medline Complete, which you may have upgraded to, you would no doubt be directed to a full text record in the EBSCO's interface. Okay, so you can go out to EBSCO host and explore further, as it were. Okay, so again, this is the Chinese Medical Journal, but it's using the link resolvers to get you to the full text in this instance, in this particular setup. Okay, so bottom line is, again, for more rapid evidence searching, Hub is very useful. We've seen natural language search already. We're going to look at Pico in a minute, the Pico search app. But if you're doing more in-depth searching, if supporting systematic reviews, for example, systematic literature searching, then we would strongly recommend searching the databases individually and going to them specifically. Okay. Another question here from Samantha: do we need to have LibKey downloaded, installed on the computer to access the LibKey option here? No, you shouldn't have to. That's built into the system. That's rolled out nationally. So both the LibKey link resolver and full text finder are national. Okay, so if anyone else has any comments about that, feel free to interject, but you don't need to install those. That's built into the system. Okay, so there are going to be local subscriptions you have, regional subscriptions, but a lot of the content that's already been enabled is national, okay, already through the hub. So I've not heard of any issues with those link resolvers in terms of their functionality for individual trusts, as it were. So it's a national thing. Okay, so EBSCO host is full text finder, which is represented by access item. LibKey is related to browsing from Third Iron. Okay, so again, if you go out to the research tools menu on the left, publications A to Z is publication finder. This is EBSCO's A to Z journals and ebooks. So it's e-journals and ebooks that can be included here. So this is the service to search for publications. If I just did a quick run here, example, British Journal, and you can see the autocomplete feature. I just do that and choose one of these. For example, the British Journal of General Practice. You can see it comes up here. It's available through Europe PubMed Central. Okay, so it's available through this service, and you can click through to it. So these are full text journals. You can also browse by subject as well. So if we go to medicine and we choose, let's go for cancer, and you see the cancer titles here. So this is from the Director of Open Access Journals by MedCentral. So a lot of open access content here, and you can click through to access the journal through Duo AJ, as it were. Okay, so that's just the AZ listing of content available, full text. Okay, you can also go for ebooks too, if appropriate. So, for example, I try cancer. Yeah, there's none there. I don't think there's that many actually on this count particularly. No, this one doesn't have anything set. This is the national setup here. It doesn't have specific collections there set up. In addition, so I mentioned browsing. So again, you've got browse journals under the essential link. So this is the Third Iron A to Z service. This only includes journals, by the way, e-journals. Publication Finder can cover ebooks as well as e-journals, but here, this is only e-journals. Again, you'd follow the links, nursing and allied health, and then you click through to the appropriate publication here. So for example, if we see one, let's see, for example, addiction, and then you go to the issue there. Okay, so LibKey is based on that content as well. Okay, so let me now, because I'm conscious of time here, I will try and keep to the questions as well. So let me click new search here. And just to mention the PCOTS or PICO app as well. And I'm just checking also another question here from are other subscriptions not accessible via the hub? So again, whatever is accessible through the hub is going to be determined by what you have selected in EBSCO admin in terms of databases. In terms of journal subscriptions, that's managed in Holdings Management. I'm going to be running a session next week on that, on adding, removing content from Holdings Management, because that will determine and impact what your users can access through the hub itself. So again, it depends on what content you have set up. Some of it obviously is loaded nationally and rolled out across the trust. Others may be specific to institutions. So again, the hub itself should reflect what your users should be able to access nationally, regionally, and locally, okay, for yourselves. And that is determined, again, the database is, and the versions of database that are selected in the hub itself. So if you see CINAHL and you have upgraded CINAHL Ultimate, if you see CINAHL and CINAHL Ultimate, you need to remove the reference to CINAHL, and we can talk offline about that. So sometimes I've seen instances where that's happened. You've got duplicate databases, but one's a higher end version that you may have subscribed to or upgraded to. So again, you have to be mindful of that, but that is managed in EBSCO admin and also in Holdings Management, which is part of EBSCO admin for maintaining journals, etc. So again, your other subscriptions can be added to the hub to make them accessible, etc. So just to run through the PICO app, okay, on the top right there, and this opens up, of course, the 5 elements. So the additional element is the time or type of study. So again, you'll note that's optional. So it's not essential, but you've got these other elements here. So if I just enter a search here, so for example, if I'm looking at the effectiveness of HIDA scanning compared to ultrasound for the risk of gallbladder disease, then I can add, for example, gallbladder disease as the initial term, okay, for the P element of PICO, so that's the problem. So patients with gallbladder disease. Then I've got the HIDA scan, I won't spell it out or pronounce it even. We've got ultrasound as a comparison. That may be the standard way of diagnosing, and then diagnosis here. So again, I'm just entering simple keywords here. It is possible to combine terms. I've tried this before. Typically, the official line is that you're just entering simple queries like this to run a PICO search. But I found you can combine terms using the Boolean or, etc. So for example, if you want to put gallbladder disease or gallbladder dysfunction, you could do that, or ultrasound or ultrasonography, for example. But I'll leave it as it is. Okay, so once you've added the terms in each of those elements, the only ones that are mandatory are the P and the I. So the population, problem, or patient, or the intervention. All the others are essentially optional. And of course, there may not be a comparative treatment that you're looking at. But again, it's designed to be intuitive. Add to the search. So this is the clinical framework based on PICO. You'll see the query rendered. If you've used this previously on the original classic hub, the original EBSCO Discovery Service, this may not have worked quite so well as it should. It's been redesigned, as it were, to work as it should now. And you can see the terms are combined using the Boolean and then you can run the search here and bring back results in the results page. So you can see here, it's, I mean, considering how much, how many resources we're searching, 1,300 is not too many. Again, we could tweak that, but it gives you an indication of what's out there. And again, you can apply limiters to this. So you can see I've got these results here. So for example, wanted just to filter to English only, then I can choose language from here. Of course, if I'm multilingual, then I can choose more than one. And if you have full text content, by the way, online full text content, then it can be translated into other languages as well. So you've got a link there. This is libkey. This is again the link resolver. Access options. So again, more options. View complete issue. That's simply browsing. Takes you to browsing, etc. as well. Okay. And now you've got the PDF here. So if I click on the PDF link, that will take me to the article itself. So again, this is just a shortcut using the PICO framework adapted for this resource. And so you can run a quick search there. So again, you can advise users that this is available if they want an initial search, a scoping search, for example, to see what's out there, what's been done before, and then they can apply the various filters to narrow it down further. Again, the all time, you go for the last 5 years or even the last 12 months for more recent content if necessary, okay, to see what's out there. And if, say, for example, you want to be alerted to this search, you want to set up a search alert, there's under the tools menu, there's create alert. So again, this will not appear if you're not signed in to if you're signed as if you log in as a guest user, or if you just go in as a guest user, you may not see that. And then you can change the name here. Okay, and then notice the frequency. It's daily by default. You can set it from weekly or monthly. Essentially, it's set up for 1 year to run, and then you can create the alert from here. And then if you go back to the dashboard, on the left-hand column, you'll see the alerts are listed here. Okay, and I'm conscious of the time here. So again, search alerts. This is the alert here, and you can go in and edit, view results, or delete it if needed. So I'm just going to be into, so a good question there. Is there a cost involved to switch on full AI? So if you're thinking of, Samantha, the generative AI insights, there is no cost to that. Okay. So natural language search is powered by AI using a large language model. So that's already enabled. The generative AI insights is something you need to talk to the EBSCO account team, but there's no cost associated with that. But it was just agreed nationally not to have that. Proximity searching, yes. So if I go to new search here, in fact, let's go to advanced search here. This will show it more clearly. You have search options here. So by default, when you enter your keyword search terms, it's find all my search terms. So essentially what it means is the words are searched using the AND operator. So when I put in colorectal cancer, it's looking for the term colorectal and cancer. Okay, so the word colorectal and cancer may not appear together unless you use double quotation marks, but they must appear somewhere in the citation that you retrieve. Now, we do have phrase searching here. So phrase searching means you are literally, so for example, if I put in influenza vaccine, it will search those terms next to each other in that order, okay? And that's used in the proximity search W0 within 0 or less. That has been adapted for yourselves in England. So behind the scenes, that's been changed, okay, to reflect a more phrase search experience. So by default, originally it says proximity, and that would be influenza near 5 words or less of vaccine, or vaccine near 5 words or less of influenza. So nationally, By default, it's now W0, so it's influenza W0 vaccine, which means the words appear in the order you enter them next to each other, essentially as a phrase. Okay. So if you wanted to do proximity searching, the phrase is the nearest one. Again, on EBSCO host, you have proximity search there. You can, of course, overrule that if you like. You can leave it as it is. You can put in, for example, again, the default would be N5. So that would find influenza vaccine, within 5 words or less of each other. So you can use the syntax N, near, or W. Again, we cover that in other sessions. Okay. So you can see where the terms are not, say, adjacent to each other. They are, but also apart from each other as well, as you see in the other example. So again, you can use proximity searching, but again, that's the kind of thing you may want to use more definitely in the database searching, Medline, Sino, and so on. Do you get any, another question from Mary there, do you get an email reminder when the alert is about to expire? I believe so. Let me just double check that. There is an option if you go into the alert, for example, edit the alert here, there is this option to extend or renew my search alert. So I think you will receive notification. Yeah, so you can be alerted to to receive an email when the alert is run. So whenever that's running, you'll be notified of it. And I believe you'll also receive notification when it's due to expire, and you can go in and you can extend it, you can renew it, and by default, it will renew for another year. Okay. If you don't want that option, or if you don't want the alert anymore, of course, you need to go in and remove that. So you'd have to come in here, go in and delete that search, that alert. Likewise with the journal alert, which we set up earlier, you go in and delete it here. So I'm conscious of the time, we're past the hour now. So what I want to do is just mention again, the help menu is on the bottom left. Now for the hub, it takes you straight to the NHS Hub page, the help on the hub page that you see there. And within this page, you'll see the various videos, short videos that Alan Fricker has created. And I believe he's updating some and adding more. So again, these are very short. They're literally seconds, 25, 24 seconds, 16 seconds. So they're very specific. Okay, this is a general kind of review of the hub itself. And there's also links there as well that you might find of interest. So again, the help here directly takes you to this page for the NHS. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go back, but I appreciate all the questions, all the interaction there, because it's very useful. And I'll follow up post-session as well. So I've included some of the train support links. There's information on the natural language search. There's frequently asked questions about that, more detailed information. Obviously, for generative AI, we can send you more information about that as well as needed. Again, more like this, the recommendations page is covered, and also information on the account itself. We do have a dedicated portal, as some of you I'm sure know, the training resources portal, which collates a lot of the links to recordings, upcoming sessions, and also support materials related to the hub, related to the Medline Synod database, and so on, provided by EBSCO. And there's also a link directly to help on the hub from this page as well. So again, that will take you to the appropriate page, as you see there, we saw live just now, and the videos as well. And of course, EBSCO Connect is the main go-to place for support information from EBSCO for the Discovery Service, EBSCO's database, and so on. So that's connect.ebsco.com. But what we'd also say here as well for yourselves, if you have any technical issues or some queries, you may want to raise a ticket with the NHS Service Desk. So again, we recommend going to the NHS Service Desk first before you contact EBSCO support. They will escalate to EBSCO as needed. Also within the site, there are the solutions pages, and there's one for the hub, which also includes Full Text Finder as well. So again, you're able to explore that in your own time. And just to add, obviously I mentioned or alluded to some potential changes. If you want to keep up to date with changes for the Discovery Service, which is of course the hub for yourselves, then we have the platform roadmap available for research solutions. And when you click through to that, it will take you to this page, and then you can filter to the Discovery Service, which of course we know as the hub, or you know as the hub. And that will give you any future updates to the service that's taken place for the Discovery Service in general. Doesn't mean necessarily they'll be rolled out nationally for the NHS. It depends on what's agreed centrally, but a lot of these things may be, again, impacting the hub in the weeks, months to come in a positive way to enhance the service. And for those who are really eager to know more about the developments regarding the interfaces, we do have a newsletter that you can sign up to as well. Okay. So I know there's a lot to cover. I appreciate those questions. Again, I'll follow up offline with a lot of you as well, and also feedback when I send the recording out as well. So again, a lot to take on board there, but I hope it's been useful. And of course, if you have any more questions, feel free to contact me at rcrooks@ebsco.com. Otherwise, speak to your local EBSCO account team. Thank you very much.